Bamba way. Da-da-dee-ba-bee-ba-bee-ba-boo. Bamba way. Da-ba-dee-ba-ba-ba-dee-ba-bee. What a banger that is. Also, very sort of inappropriate with that music that's sort of going out. But I don't know, it just sort of seemed like natural today. It was between that and this is the rhythm of the night. The night. Oh yeah. This is the rhythm of the night. This is the rhythm of the night. Pandoras Box is the rhythm of the night today.
All right.
Today? Tonight.
Forever.
Okay. What if I told you guys that there was something known as the Demon of Champawat in the early 1900s in India that killed and ate 436 people?
No.
Whoa.
I know. You think, madness?
The Champawat.
What are you talking about, man? A demon that killed and ate 436 people? That's a lot of people, isn't it? And yeah,
how many?
436 people killed and ate them, and these are official records as well, like documented records. So this isn't hearsay. Yeah, the Demon of Champawat, and you might be asking yourself, what demon?
What is this?
I didn't even realize that demons were officially a thing. Well, put yourself in the shoes of an Indian living in a remote village back in the early 1900s. And all you hear, almost daily, almost nightly, I should say, are the screams of your fellow villagers as almost one person a day is like dragged from their home screaming, and all you hear is them like basically dying in the jungle, in the forest. I don't know, is it jungles or forests in India? Not really sure. Either way, somebody let us know. I'll look into it later on. Yeah, you hear your fellow villager screaming and being killed, and then, you know, as daylight approaches, you go and sort of check out that person's house, and all you can see is like a big trail of like blood and guts leading to the forest. Well, the Demon of Champawat was actually a tiger. But let's face it, tigers are, if people weren't aware, the largest of the felids, as they are known, the largest cat in the world.
Felids?
Felids.
Cool.
Yeah, so you'd have like felids. You'd also have like canids. That'd be like dogs, wolves, like canids.
So is a cat a feline or still a felid?
It's a feline.
Right.
Yeah, it's a feline species.
But also a felid.
Yeah.
A felid, right.
Yeah, so it's like a felid. Yeah, so like a canid would be like jackals, coyotes, wolves, all dog species.
Right.
And then like a felid would be like lions, tigers, domestic cats. Yeah, there. Yeah, so tigers are the largest species of cats in the world. They are the strongest. They are a solitary cat. Unlike a lot of other cat species, they do sometimes hunt during the day, and a lot of these attacks did happen during the day, apparently. But either way, these attacks were so savage in the early 1900s that apparently people living in India were literally like afraid to leave their homes. Like their homes would often, like their roofs would be made of almost like vegetation. You know, so it's not like a home that we would think of today that we live in. You know, their homes would have been not exactly the most storm-proof houses, so to speak. And in some cases, the tiger literally like just like came through the frickin' ceiling or the window.
Imagine the terror.
And you got to bear in mind, like a tiger is such a massive and heavy animal. You know, it's like I mean, you hear people talk, don't you, that like you wouldn't appreciate how much like stronger it is than even like a very, very large, strong man until like, you know, until you probably actually witnessed one and realised that you couldn't budge one. It would be like a 2-year-old trying to like overpower like a fully grown man or something. So probably about that sort of level. But yeah, the Champawat tiger began her attacks in the village of Rupal in western Nepal. Hunters were sent to kill the tiger, but she managed to evade them. Eventually it got to the point where the army was called in, the Nepalese army. They failed to capture or kill the tiger, but they did manage to drive the tiger out of her territory and across the border into India, where she continued her killing activities in what's known as the Kumaon district. It says the tiger then adjusted her hunting strategy so as best to hunt and evade humans. It would travel great distances between villages, as much as 20 miles a day. So basically there were like these, I think it was like 3 or 4 villages that were almost like in a rough circular pattern. And I think this is also just goes to show almost like the intelligence of something like a beast like this, because this is like calculating, isn't it? it realized almost that the hunters were onto it, so it would start like almost like hunting in random villages. It would like almost like pick one a day. So obviously it was really hard to predict which one it was going to go to each day. Yeah. So it would travel at night so it wouldn't be caught.
And this is just one tiger?
This is just one tiger.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Her behaviour became more... Yes, what's strange is because obviously you've got like Bengal tigers, which is what the tigers in India are called, and you've got Siberian tigers, which are like in Siberia. Siberian tigers are a little bit bigger, but they have slightly different sort of behaviours. And interestingly, it says that the behaviour of this tiger became more like a Siberian tiger in its habits, and she created a larger territory to encompass multiple villages, with Champawat being close to the centre of her territory. Most of her victims were young women and children who often went to the forest to collect firewood, feed livestock, and gather resources for craft work. Not to be confused with Kraftwerk, the German techno band. Dun 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 dun. If a problem comes along, you must whip it. All her kills happened after she was driven over the border. All of her kills, strangely, started to happen in daylight. Life across the region was literally paralysed by fear. Men literally refused to leave their huts in the day to go to work. And they would hear the tiger's roars from the forest at all hours of the day.
Damn.
Can you imagine that? Obviously, yeah, because they started getting like attacked during the day as well. Like people literally just wouldn't even leave their house. And I guess because it's like, as I said, society there was so much different than society as we would see it, like in a town or something. They literally just thought that like if they just left their house and the tiger would literally just come out of nowhere and just like drag them into the forest and kill them.
What time period was this again, man?
Early 1900s.
Oh, so would they have had guns then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think they would have been like common to Indian people.
No.
The British Empire ruled India at the time, and there would have, like the British Army obviously everybody would have had a gun in the British Army. But this sort of like ties into what I was about to say. So in 1907, they called in a notorious, I shouldn't say notorious because notorious implies bad, a very well-known hunter called Jim Corbett, who is actually like a absolute legend. Jim Corbett has killed like some of the biggest man-eaters of all time. When I say biggest, I don't mean biggest in size. I mean like he's killed like several of the known animals that have killed like the most people ever officially on record. He has killed them.
He don't mess around with Jim.
Yeah, he was almost like brought in as the person that could kill like the unkillable things, basically.
I've got Jumanji in my head right now. Like,
Jumanji.
You know the guy like, with like proper like looking like one of those things with a big mustache and everything.
I was going to say Robin Williams, but no,
the
he
actual
probably
hunter.
looks like that.
Yeah,
I mean there is
proper explorer.
I can get a picture of him up in a minute, but Jim Corbett was an absolute legend. In 1907, he was called in. The tiger had recently killed a 16-year-old girl called Premka Devi, rest in peace Premka, in the village of Fungar, in the village of Fungar near to the town of Champawat, and left a trail of blood, which Corbett then followed. After nearly getting ambushed by the tiger while investigating the remains of its victims and scaring her off with 2 shots from his rifle, Corbett had to abandon the hunt, deciding to use villagers and to organise a beat the next day in Champa River Gorge. So organising a beat means that he got the villagers to basically like go through the forest like beating drums and stuff.
Try and drive them a certain way.
Yeah, that's right, drive it out. With the help of the people of Champawat, the beat was organised with about 300 villagers, and the next day around noon, Corbett managed to shoot the tigress dead. Apparently, it was like they drove it to the edge of the forest, and then he waited at the edge of the forest, and he saw it come out. And it was quite far from it. He took a shot, hit it apparently near its back legs. The tiger then ran off and disappeared over some rocks. He did actually manage to pop off another shot as well, but the second one missed. He then had to, which was obviously far more risky, and he didn't want to have to go this route. But he then had to essentially follow the trail of blood over the rocks. When he actually got over the rocks, the tiger was there waiting for him and ambushed him.
Damn.
And then luckily he managed to shoot it right point blank and put it down before it managed to get to him and tear it down.
What a smart tiger.
Hey, well, I think they have to be in a way. I think they have pretty big brains, really, tigers. They're very large animals and they do have pretty big brains. Also, they're solitary animals, so they can't rely on any packs. Like, it's like lions are pack animals, obviously wolves are pack animals.
I didn't realise they were completely solitary animals.
Yeah, they're very antisocial tigers, like notoriously almost like shy. I know it's like a weird way to put it, but they're notoriously sort of like shy, antisocial creatures, very dangerous, very, very tactical. But yeah, he managed to put it down. It said Corbett's shots hit the tigress. But when she was dead, they checked. She had a gunshot in the chest and the shoulder and near the back. He managed to get it to collapse just 20 feet from him, which might sound like quite a lot, but like obviously as a tiger's like full
moving quick,
sprint, like literally like another couple of seconds, and he would have been a goner. What's almost like a little bit more, or like almost like a sobering thought after all this, is a post-mortem of the tigress showed that the upper and lower canine teeth on the right side of her mouth were broken, the upper one in half and the lower one right down to the bone. This injury, which was also apparently a result of an old gunshot wound, probably prevented her from hunting her normal prey, and hence she started to hunt for humans exclusively. Further examinations made by Corbett during his hunt for the tiger indicated that she was in healthy condition physically, other than her teeth, and was between 10 and 12 years old. And it goes on to say, after bringing down the Champawat tiger, Jim Corbett acquired a reputation as the leading hunter of man-eaters. This ability served him well at a time when deforestation and diminishing prey were driving more and more tigers and leopards to hunt humans for food. He basically made a reputation for himself across the world as like a monster hunter. But makes you feel a bit sorry in a way for the tiger when you find out afterwards that it was like because it couldn't like essentially hunt its normal prey. But it doesn't make it any less terrifying for just the normal everyday people of India that were like literally like couldn't leave the house because they were like afraid of being like eaten alive.
And it makes sense as well. Like I was wondering why it would have been hunting humans so much. It's blown the side of his teeth off with her teeth off with a gunshot wound.
You would have a bit of a vendetta, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it makes for sure, man. And it makes you think like probably I guess like whoever tried to shoot her maybe just was doing it for the pelt or just for some reputation themselves. I'm not sure. But it's quite interesting. I sort of after I was like looking into that story the other day, it got me thinking like, what are the other animals that have like the highest like official death counts on humans? And it's quite interesting. What would you say are like the top two animals, excluding mosquitoes? Because I think most people know that like mosquitoes have like killed more. I think they say that mosquitoes have killed more people than all the wars of mankind ever combined put together, which is like just like astronomical, isn't it? It's a crazy fact that just goes to show how like deadly mosquitoes are. But excluding mosquitoes, what do you think of the two animals that literally like big predators that literally like hunt and eat humans? What do you think of like the two that have killed the most
just
people?
Predators?
I feel like this could be a stupid guess, but I'm going to say it anyway. Hippos.
I was going to say hippos.
Yeah,
hippos
I don't know
cows.
why.
People die quite a lot from cows as well, and like in the UK.
No, but the hippos are ridiculously dangerous. I think, but in all fairness to you, let's call it a man-eater. So we're talking about things that are killing you because they want to eat you.
Right.
I would say bear then, like big brown bear.
No.
Wolf?
No.
Lion?
No. I mean, one of them is, in a way, is fairly obvious because we've been talking about
tiger.
Yeah, tiger. Yeah. Tiger is one of them. And what would you say? Think about something that is almost like quite like a cold-blooded, heartless killer.
Crocodile.
Crocodiles, yeah, crocodiles. They are the two most ones. Like a lot of animals, they say, don't they, that like they won't actually like attack you because they want to eat you. They're more like attacking because they don't know what you are. They often say that about sharks, or they're curious, or maybe they even because they're scared, like they feel cornered or something. Whereas with tigers and especially crocodiles, it's like that's not the case. They know what you are. They're perfectly aware of what you are. And they just want to kill you and eat you, and often they will see it as like an easier choice than other things. Like, I think if you're like, say, like a Nile crocodile who live in Africa, Africa is almost like one of the last almost like bastions of like megafauna. Regularly you've got frickin' lions, like water buffalo, rhinos, all these massive animals coming down to the watering hole. Why would you try and take on one of them? Even like a zebra, who is essentially like a wild horse that could literally kick you in the frickin' face and like maybe like, severely do you damage. Why would you attack one of them when you could attack, pulling Kathy from down the road who's like washing her like dress?
One of those nice juicy humans.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's like one of the most legendary crocodiles that I found out about was called Gustav. And one of the interesting things about Gustav is that apparently he's still alive today. Although several people have tried to kill him, he's still alive today. People sort of estimate obviously he has never been caught, so they can't tell for sure. But they estimate that he was probably born in about 1955. Crocodiles can live to like well over 100 years old. So they think that he's killed over 300 people, in his lifetime, eaten and killed over 300 people, and attacked lots more. And apparently, there's one village in Africa where every single member of the village says that they've been attacked by Gustav. And there's like there's like people walking around with like missing arms and missing legs and stuff, where they like just about managed to get away. And apparently every single one of those people as well have like a member of the family that was killed by Gustav.
That's
like
crazy.
That's almost like how much of just a legendary predator he is in this region. It says Gustav is a large male Nile crocodile in Burundi. He was notorious for being a man-eater, rumored to have killed more than 300 people on the banks of the Ruzizi River and the northern shores of Lake Tanganyika, or Tanganyika, I think that's a better way to say it, between which he roams. Though the actual number of victims is difficult to verify, he has obtained near mythical status and is greatly feared by people in the region. Gustav was named by Patrice Fay, a herpetologist. Anybody that doesn't know what a herpetologist is, it's basically just like it's like a zoologist that specializes in reptiles and amphibians. Who has been studying and investigating him since the late 1990s. Much of what is known about Gustav stems from a film that you can watch called Capturing the Killer Croc, which aired in 2004 on PBS. So you can watch a documentary on it if you want, ladies and gentlemen.
Damn.
The film documents a capture attempt and study of Gustav, but the capture was unsuccessful.
Fair play to Gustav. I respect that.
Yeah, since he's not been captured, it's hard to know his exact length and weight. But from like pictures and sort of estimates, he's thought to be like a colossal crocodile, easily more than 20 feet or 6.1 meters long, and probably weighs more than 2,000 pounds, which is over 910 kilos, which is just like a ridiculous.
That's hard to even comprehend, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There's also pictures of like often like crocodiles are seen sort of like basking together in the sun. There's pictures of Gustav with other Nile crocodiles. Obviously, all Nile crocodiles are massive. And it's almost like hilarious how much bigger his head is than their heads. So he's like, a really like fearsome creature. Like none of the other crocodiles. I think there's one picture where there's about like 10 of their heads all like poking out of the water, and like none of there's not like a single other croc that's like head's even like remotely close in size to his. Like the others are like pretty similar, and then his is just randomly like twice the size.
There's this guy on TikTok who's like got famous recently, and I'm pretty sure he lives in the Amazon. And he basically just goes around and he just like picks up all these like really dangerous animals and just like shows them to the camera, goes, hello, and then like lets them go again. He does it like crocodiles, he does it with like pythons and like venomous snakes and stuff. He'll just go, oh, there's a snake over there, and you'll just see him like march over with this phone, pick it up and go, you, hello, and then like speak to it. But I do not understand how people like that are still alive. Like he will go up and get a crocodile and just pick it up by his hands and go, hello, Mr. What does he call it? A swamp puppy. They all call him swamp puppies over there or something.
I mean,
hello, swamp puppy.
Either like he's just like a ridiculously quirky and eccentric nut bar, or he just realizes almost from a business point of view that he will probably get like worldwide notoriety like almost overnight from doing stuff like that.
It is crazy.
Stuff like that will just go viral.
Yeah.
Do you remember there was that YouTube channel of that guy that would just like eat mental stuff alive? Did you ever see that?
Doesn't surprise me.
Oh man, I remember like Drew knows who he is, Max Karakides, like an old mate of mine, and he was the one that showed him to me about 10 years ago, maybe it was more than that. And it was this guy, and he was just doing mental stuff, like he was like importing like things like the largest tarantula in the world, the Goliath bird-eating spider, which is literally like the size of a dinner plate. And then he would like grab it, which is sketchy enough as it is. Like most people would be like, a lot of people would be like terrified at the sight of it. And he'd be like that, and it would be alive, and he'd be like that, and then he would suddenly just bite its freaking head off.
Man,
alive. And it was just like, and then he would be doing it with other things like scorpions and stuff, and he'd be like, if this stings me before I manage to kill it in my mouth, I'm gonna have to go to the hospital. And he's like, so like wish me luck, and he's on camera, and you're almost like, oh my god, it's like, don't get me wrong, it is almost entertaining.
Especially the tail, you can imagine it just getting him in the cheek or something.
Yeah, but it was like obviously a lot of people I think kicked off about it at the time because it was really inhumane. But a little bit like with that guy that you're talking about, Bullwinkle, I think he just basically thought like, what is like almost like in 1 month what is the quickest way to get like millions of followers is like, I know, I'm just gonna do something mental. I'm gonna find some like the deadliest creatures on earth and I'm literally gonna like eat them alive.
Well,
like it's a mental thing to do, isn't it? I don't know if he got
Who's-
shut down in the end, because I remember he was like really hot topic for a while and then I just didn't hear anything more of him. So I don't know if freaking like some sort of animal
It wouldn't surprise me if they took him down, because it is pretty brutal.
Oh,
that,
it's
isn't it?
let's face
I
it,
can only imagine seeing it on
Pretty messed up.
rotten.com or something.
yeah, it's a
YouTube.
pretty bad thing to do, like, isn't it? But what, you were going to say something, man?
Who's the guy who gets stung by stuff?
Oh, he's
There's
cool
like a
guy.
really famous
watched a
guy
few
who
of
just
those.
goes around and gets
Yeah.
stung by like everything, like the worst.
Doesn't he say
stings
the worst
in the world.
one was like the bullet ant?
I
says
think
the
that's
worst
like one of the worst ones. Yeah.
And he said it's like literally excruciatingly painful. Yeah, that's good as well, because I mean that's cool, because that's completely humane as well. Like he's not doing anything bad to the animals. He doesn't even like take them out of their environment. He'll like go in the wild, won't he? He'll find one and he'll like get one in some tweezers and they'll like put a glass over it and then he'll like explain to the camera what it is and what people describe the pain as, and then he'll give it like a pain rating, won't he? Like compare it like on 1 to 10 or something like that, and say like, you know, it was just as bad or like worse or not as bad as like this the one I did last time, whatever. And yeah, it's really entertaining. I don't know what the guy's name is, but I'm sure if you just like looked him up on YouTube, you would find it like guy that deliberately gets stung. It's
like Man vs Wild or something like that.
No, that's a Bear Grylls program, isn't it?
Oh,
I'm pretty
maybe
sure
that does
I'm
sound
pretty
about
sure
right.
that's one of Bear Grylls' many shows. Was Man
I'll
vs.
see if I
Wild.
can find out who the guy is.
Yeah, he was definitely an interesting guy though. I loved watching his shows. Then he obviously gets stung and then instantly he's just like, like rolling around on the floor. I remember one of the ones he did was that like a tarantula hawk wasp.
Yeah.
It's like a giant
the wasp.
It's a
when they're like
giant
in the
black
glass
wasp.
and they're going crazy.
It's like a giant black wasp, and I think it's called the tarantula hawk because it like kills freaking tarantulas. Like even that's like menacing, and it like doesn't it like I think it's almost like parasitic. I think it like implants its like living. Sorry, it's like young inside the tarantula, and then the larvae of like the wasp hatches inside the tarantula and then like eats it from the inside out. It was something brutal like that. All I have to say is, like whenever I like watch a documentary or watch a YouTube thing about like insects and that, I think like, man, we are so lucky that we are like 1,000 times bigger than them. Because if
they're monsters.
And they say, don't they, like even the average ant can pick up 9 times its own body weight. The average human like finds it hard to pick up like their own body weight. Or like a lot of people can't even do that. You know, like even like ridiculously strong people, you know, depending on the lift, you know, it's like, you know, it's considered almost like elite if you can do sort of like 3 times your own body weight, you know, something like that, you know.
I do wonder why they only grow to a certain size as well, like insects and that. Like, what is stopping a tarantula to get like as big as a human? You know, it's something to do with the environment and the way.
I think it's to do with oxygen and heat.
Ah, okay.
I can't really expand on that more. I have looked into it in the past, but my fragile little mind can only remember so much at a time.
Because I remember like hearing about those like massive dragonflies that were like absolutely huge. You know, like imagine seeing one of those like flying.
A lot of it, as I said, it's to do with oxygen content. So back in those days, there would have been more oxygen in the air, and it was hotter. It's the same reason why dinosaurs grew to larger sizes than us as well. So a lot of it, it's just like, you know, more oxygen and hotter climate, and in general, things will get bigger. I say there are some things that, like, you know, where sort of like there's only obviously like limits on what I know about it, and I do sort of think like almost suddenly I wish I knew more, because on the other side of that, you know, you have obviously things like polar bears. They're the largest bear species, and they live in the cold.
Yeah.
But I mean,
almost a way of keeping them warm. More,
I think probably the way it is this is just trying to use common sense, not actually any data. Is it probably makes sense that like theoretically, obviously it's more beneficial to be larger in a cold environment than in a hot environment, because the larger you are, you've got thicker meat and everything to keep you warm. But at the end of the day, obviously there's not just because you're in a cold climate doesn't mean you've got this. It's more like oxygen or anything like that. So there's just not the ability to be bigger, I guess.
Well, I mean, look at how me and you deal with the cold and the heat.
Oh yeah.
I love summer because I never overheat. I never get too hot. But I hate winter, and you're the complete opposite.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I've just got like a lot more meat on my bones. A lot more meat, and then my meat's covered in hair. Whereas Bullwinkle's meat is just bold like a little baby. yeah. So yeah,
The guy's name is Brave Wilderness, by the way, I believe.
Brave Wilderness. That's not even his channel. That's just his name. I am Brave Wilderness.
What a name!
And if you didn't know, I'm really brave because I get stung by horrible things. Yeah, go check out Brave Wilderness. I guess that's the name of his YouTube channel then.
Yeah.
Really freaking cool YouTube channel. If you like watching someone get stung by horrible things. But interesting, isn't it? I think a lot of people, like if people weren't into like insects and stuff and arachnids, you probably wouldn't guess that like the worst one was like an ant species, a species of ant.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think we all know that like there are some species of ant, even in the UK, that can give you like a bit of a nasty bite. Like was it like red ants? I think yellow ants can give you a bit more of a nasty bite than black ants and stuff. But yeah, like those bullet ants, they're big as well. They're big old boys.
Oh, I remember seeing them in the Amazon, and I was like,
yeah, stay away from them.
Stay away from them.
Stay away from them. Imagine just getting covered in them, and them all just almost biting you.
I got covered in red ants once when I was in America.
Did you?
Yeah, when I was a wee laddie. We were staying at this beautiful place in America, like a house that we'd rented, and had like grounds and stuff, and it was really cool. And I remember being out, and I was just doing stupid stuff as a kid. I had one of those bungee ties, and I was trying to like hook the bungee tie over a branch and then like use it to like swing and stuff. So I was like kept doing it, and I couldn't quite get it, And I was going, and there was just a massive red ant's nest like underneath the branch, and I had my foot in it, and I didn't even realise. So I had my foot in it for ages, and the next thing I looked down, and my body was just covered in red ants, and my dad had to go like run over, just grab me, and like chuck me in the shower, and like just use the shower to get all the ants off me, and I had like loads of bites. Then it was horrible.
Oh, they bit you loads.
Yeah,
nasty, man. Yeah, I remember once. I think
chicken pox.
I think I was in Greece. I think I want to say it was. Might not have been, but I remember I was on holiday when I was a little kid anyway with my folks, and I remember I was like walking down towards the sea, and I saw like a really big, impressive looking crab, like like a really big, like dinner plate sized one, like maybe bigger, and then realised it was like covered in something, and then got closer, and the poor thing was like covered in ants. I don't know what ant species it was. To me, from my memory, it almost just looked like regular black ants, but I don't know if it's like a variant, like a different species in Greece or whatever. And it was just covered in ants, and the poor thing, you could tell it was getting full on attacked, like an onslaught. And I remember I was like, like it's almost, if that's to like a young lad, that's like a fascinating thing. And I remember I just like sat down for like 10 minutes and just like watched it.
And it was alive still?
Yeah, the poor thing was almost like alive, but just getting attacked. And then I remember I like walked past, I think like a sort of about like 6 to 8 hours later, something like that, and it was just like dead, and it was almost just like a husk. Like it would almost just been like hollowed out.
Oh my god!
It was like they somehow just like, I guess they just like ate him alive or something.
Whoa!
Do we know how many ants there are in the world?
Oh, it'll be like an insane amount.
I would love to know the like estimate of how many there actually are.
Yeah.
I remember once I went camping, and I put my tent down and left it there for the day or whatever. I think it was a really hot day, so I left like a crack open in the door. Yeah. Big mistake. So I went back to bed later on.
Yeah.
All night I could feel like stuff crawling on me. I was like, what is going on? What is going on?
In the dark. Like.
Yeah. And then I finally put a light on and realised I put my tent on an anthill. And that like they'd all just come in through the day, and I was just covered in them.
That's horrible.
That was horrible.
It says that biologists estimate that there's about 20 quadrillion ants worldwide.
That's ridiculous.
That's a million billion. So that's quite insane. That's a million billion, yeah.
Christ.
And apparently there's over 14,000 distinct species that people know of, but apparently there's more being discovered like all the time.
I remember I didn't realise as well in England like how big some of the ants were, and like the nests and stuff
those
as well.
Quantock ants.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I remember going up there and taking a walk down. I had never seen anything like it before. And I was walking, and I just heard this noise, and I was like, "What the hell is that noise?" And it's like,
yeah, crazy, man.
And you could just hear it, and just like walking through the thing, and literally like so many ants, and it was at the stump of this tree, and their nest was at the stump of this tree, and it was huge, and oh man, it was so cool. And I remember going back the next year, and it still being there, so they must live there for years.
I might have seen the exact same one to you, but I remember seeing like a huge, like an anthill that I couldn't even comprehend at the time, because I remember we were walking, and before we got there, we had that same thing of hearing the noise, but also like looking at the floor, and the floor was almost like moving, and it's almost like tripping you out a bit, because you're like, why is the floor moving? Like, what's going on? Am I like, what is actually happening? And then as we got to the ant nest, we realised that the whole floor was just covered in ants.
Yeah.
So that was why it just looked like everything was moving, because they were everywhere.
I always think they're interesting, aren't those ant mounds? Because like most ant species that you'd like see in a garden or anything, they don't make like mounds like that. There might be like a little bit of like a dirty a little dirty bump.
All underground, isn't it?
Yeah. But they have like those freaking massive, like almost like domes where they just collected loads of like bits of pine and leaf and everything. It's very interesting, isn't it? And you just see them like covered, like absolutely covered in those giant ants. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, getting back to Gustav though, Gustav the crocodile. As I said, he's still supposedly alive today. Some people do claim that he's died, but there's no verified accounts of that. He's obviously people have obviously tried to kill him at least several times, because apparently notable characteristics on Gustav's body, when people actually do sometimes see him up close, he's got 3 big bullet scars on his body. The locals like fear him so much that they think that he's like this mythical beast by this point, like almost like and they think that he's like invincible and bulletproof and stuff like that. So almost.
I find it interesting. Like I wouldn't have thought like a crocodile would be the hardest thing out of all of the predators to hunt. Like compared to say like lions and bears and stuff. Like I don't know how fast a massive croc is, but like you know, being huge and not being the fastest creature in the world, like
you'd think you'd be able to like avoid it.
They're not fast on land, but obviously they're fast in the water.
Yeah, and like the fact that it attacks so many humans, you would kind. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know,
I guess the benefit is like they can just disappear into the river.
Yeah,
you know,
and go deep.
They can literally just like sit on the seabed, and also they can go for like years without food if they're necessary. So I guess if it was like pursued enough,
years without food,
they can go years. That's one of the reasons they survived the dinosaur extinction, the K2 extinction that killed out the dinosaurs. One of the reasons the crocodiles survived was because while there would have been like what would have almost like seemed to us as like nuclear fallout all across the world, like raining ash and stuff like that. Like they could just almost chill out, and they just like didn't need to eat for a couple of years, and then by the time obviously like the atmosphere was just about enough alright that like they could surface again, they would just go find some like rotting carcass, and because their guts can like digest anything and they don't have to worry about getting disease or anything like that, they would just eat anything rotting, and they can digest bone and all sorts. So they could have probably even found some like rotten old dinosaur that died during the extinction.
Do you say they can't get a disease from that?
Like they can't get like they couldn't get like food poisoning. Do you know what I mean?
That's mental.
They're pretty like impervious to things like disease. Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's crazy. Am I right in saying that they can't die of old age? They can die of like complications from old age, like starvation.
Yeah,
but they don't actually. Their body doesn't actually ever just shut off from old age.
I'm pretty sure that's the case.
I heard that, and was it like lobsters or something as well?
Yeah,
like
that one's crazy. Because I think you've told us this, Calum, that they like grow too big for their skin,
and then they die.
And then eventually, like each time they grow into a new like exoskeleton, that exoskeleton gets like thicker and stronger and harder, and then eventually it gets to the point where once they get to a certain size, they almost like get like crushed inside their own exoskeleton. They're trying to break out of it, but that one's like too hard. I do know that some marine biologists do like theorize that on like the seabed, like in some really dark places where like humans can't get them, there's like the possibility that there might be like some giant lobsters. But I think it's more of like a wild theory than
I hope that's true.
But honestly, like in theory, it's plausible. Do you know what I mean? It's not like an outrageous thing to think. It's not like an outrageous thing.
I'm surprised like what's the word? Aqua biologist or whatever.
Marine biologist,
that's the word. I'm surprised none of them have ever done a test to like help the lobsters break out of their exoskeleton over and over again, just to see like how big they can actually get.
That's a very good point, actually. I'm so why haven't scientists done that? Surely that somebody has. There must have been some issue.
If they're helping the animal from being crushed by its own skin, you'd think, well, to be fair, that's not bad to the animal, is that's a good thing for the animal.
Imagine if there was, and there's some like underground facility somewhere, and there's just like giant
breaking it,
like the size of
an elephant, just crushing like freaking concrete with its pincers and stuff. Yeah, that'd be epic. Quite interesting. As I said, like looking into other sort of interesting sort of animals that are known as like man eaters. One of the ones that I thought was more interesting was just pigs. Yeah, like pigs.
Wild boar.
Pigs are competent, but even just like normal pigs.
Really?
Not even just boar. Yeah, pigs. It's just pigs are competent predators and can kill and eat helpless humans unable to escape them. In the Middle Ages in Europe, numerous pigs even went on trial for like the murder of civilians and were put to death. Isn't that crazy? Imagine that, just like, it's like a 12th century
What's your
court,
defense?
and it's like, someone just like comes to you like, innit? Yeah, like, well, apparently, I think a pig murdered my missus, and then it's like, what say you? And this is like a pig, literally. Kill him. All right, kill him. Pork chops tonight, everyone. Pork chops tonight. And then it goes on to say, in 2019, for example, a woman was attacked by and killed by a herd of hogs in rural Texas. So these were like feral hogs. So these were hogs that were domesticated and then escaped. They've got a real problem for that in Texas. I know they literally fly around in helicopters and like gun down like the pigs because they are basically just like destroying the ecosystem in Texas, because pigs will literally eat anything, and they're literally like eating ground nesting birds that are like only native to Texas, and then like killing them off and like making them extinct. There are even like certain species of vegetable that only grow in Texas that are getting like eaten by the freaking pigs that are like going to be extinct unless they kill all the pigs, because they just eat everything. They will literally eat anything. Don't
they say that's the best way to like get rid of a body, because they eat the bones and everything?
I know that there was I think it was a Canadian serial killer, I want to say. I can't remember his name now, but he got away with his murders for like years, and then he got caught eventually. He had a farm, and the reason he got caught was because they found like a very, very small bone fragment in his pig pen. And that from in like a bit of like pig feces, and then it turned out that he'd been feeding all of his victims to the pigs, and like the pigs had pretty much destroyed all evidence apart from this one tiny bone fragment they found in a bit of pig poo, because they'll eat the bones and everything. They'll literally leave no trace of you. It's really, because you don't think, when you think of like sketchy things that could eat you, the first thing that comes to mind isn't like pig.
Yeah,
but that'd be like, I mean, this woman that we're talking about, this woman in 2019 who said that she was killed by hogs, and this is horrible as well. She died basically due to just being bitten to death. She bled to death from just like numerous bite wounds. Damn. So imagine that, you're like on the floor, there's just like all of this insane amount of just like feral hogs all around you, and they're all just freaking biting you until you literally just die. And then just think they are just going to grind up. They're going to grind up your bones, ironically, like pork scratchings. You know what I mean? Just eat everything, and they're just going to poop you out. You know, just
brutal.
Like, savage. Yeah, they're like really ridiculously savage and opportunistic omnivores, and can be aggressive predators. They are also like scavengers, you know. So wild pigs have been documented on numerous occasions feeding on human corpses in sort of like areas where there have either been like accidents or like battles, you know, warfare and stuff. Just like they'll just see like pigs that are local to the area just like coming on, chomping down on the bodies. You know, they're really not that bothered. In addition, there is at least one instance on record of a wild pig in southern France that became a confirmed repeated man-eater. In 4 of the attacks reviewed in the study, the wild pig either partially or mostly consumed the remains of the human victim that had been fatally injured by that animal in the attack. 3 of the 4 attacks were explicitly characterized by the investigating authorities as being predatory. In additional attacks, the pig's motivation was also described by either the victim or the victim's companion as predatory. Of those, 1 victim survived with serious injuries while the other was fatally injured. In a 2009 attack in India, a 3-year-old girl walking on a trail with her father was grabbed by a wild pig, which then tried to flee with the minor child in its mouth. The father chased the animal, fighting with it until his daughter was released. Both the father and the daughter were seriously injured during the attack. The child later died of injuries.
Mate, that is savage.
Although it goes on to say, although attacks by wild pigs are primarily defensive in nature, the potential for an attack of a predatory nature cannot be completely discounted. That one in France is pretty mental. The fact that it was obviously like, it seemed like there was almost like a pig that got a taste for human flesh, and then it went on to like literally attack, kill, and eat 4 people. That's crazy, isn't it?
Good job they haven't got like super sharp teeth, isn't it? Because they would just be like savage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I bet they do have like super strong bite force.
Yeah. Saying that with the bones, they must do to be able to like grind up
just
human
like,
bones.
Yeah, just like crunch them up. As I said,
insane.
It's like us, like just like crunching up on pork scratchings, man. Just like just grinding up the bones and swallowing them. There's almost like something I think about animals that do that as well. It just makes them seem a bit more like savage.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
What I saw, I was watching this series the other day. It's really good on Netflix, narrated by Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
A bit like Our Planet kind of thing, and I think it's called Our Universe or something. And it goes from like you'll love it, man. It's called the terror birds and everything, and saber-toothed tigers, and going through all the different stages of evolution through the planet and everything. And it was talking about a time there was these massive like squid-like things that had 8 meter long kind of, they look like ice cream cones a bit, but with a squid coming out the bottom of them.
Yeah, I know what you're on about.
Yeah, and I can't remember the exact name.
They had
of
like
them.
long, almost like triangular.
Yeah,
like thin
but really 8 meters long.
What were those called?
So like huge 8 meter long squids.
They had like quite like a scientific name, didn't they?
Yeah, and it was showing them like that for years. There was these this type of animal was like going across the surface of the ocean bed, and the surface of the ocean bed, just kind of, and it had an exoskeleton, and it was basically ruling the roost in seas for like
what, those almost like primitive squid things.
No, before the primitive squid things, these things that the primitive squids were hunting became able to, they had such strong exoskeletons.
Was it like ammonites that it was hunting?
Yeah, and they would go to this one place to like mate, and it would just be like this massive bed of ammonites. And they ruled the roost in the seas for like a very long time.
I think
like
that was
a
before
million
the
years or something.
Before the dinosaurs evolved.
Literally because nothing could eat them, nothing could kill them. They were too fast and they had too much of a strong exoskeleton. But then these squids came along and they were huge, and they'd be able to grab them by putting their long like tentacles and be able to find them and everything. And then just open, and like the pincer like thing in their mouth could just crush their bones,
crush the shells.
The exoskeleton. I was like, mate, it looked so savage, but like so cool. And imagine what it had been like back then. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure those almost like primitive squiddy things. Yeah, they were like evolved before the dinosaurs evolved, and they were like sort of ruling the seas. Back before, I think it might have even been before like like other fish and stuff, like evolved, like even like sharks.
Yeah, because even before that, it was like talking about the jellyfish time, where the seas were just literally just jellyfish in there. And I thought it was really interesting as well, like those gelatinous type beings being able to like withstand the pressure of like the real deep sea.
I guess
like,
you just can't get crushed if you're just gelatinous.
Yeah, and I thought that was really cool as well, because it is obviously such a high pressure down there.
It's there. If you look back, sort of like before the time of the dinosaurs, there were some mental animals.
Oh man, I was loving this series because it was just showing all these different types and everything. It was
I
crazy.
need to watch that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's this thing, an orthocone. That's what it was, an orthocone.
Whoa.
Yeah, look at that.
Orthocones. Yeah, long tentacles, primitive weak eyes, long cone-like shell, sharp beak with tentacles. Yeah, the orthocone, also known as the Camarasaurus. In the Complete Guide to Prehistoric Life, is a big invertebrate from the Ordovician period. It was the largest animal to have existed during its time. Physical appearance and biology. The orthocone is a large mollusk that belongs to the nautiloids, such as the modern nautilus. It had several tentacles, which, unlike the tentacles of modern cephalopods, like the cuttlefish and the squid, didn't range in size, but were of a generally similar length. Also, these tentacles didn't have suction cups, but rather the tentacles were rigid on the inner side. Behavior and traits. The orthocone was an alpha predator, as it was the largest animal of its time. Most of its size consisted of its long, narrow shell. The size ratio between the shell and the animal itself was very large. The shell could amount up to 90% of the animal's entire length. The orthocone lived in dimly lit parts of the sea, as its eyes were very primitive and were sensitive to light. In any instance where bright light came in contact with its eyes, the mollusk would try to escape it. The primary weapon of the orthocone was its beak. Once it caught its prey, it would drag the animal towards its beak with its tentacles. The beak would then crack apart the carapace and would then proceed to feed on the softer innards.
Oh.
Innards.
Yeah, and it is, and it's interesting watching those programs as well, and just realizing just everything eating everything else, no matter what it was. Even like the most primitive, like coral beings that started forming, and then they would feed on. I can't remember the name of them, but they were like these things that would be out, and then they could suck back into themselves. But basically, these things that look like coral would crawl up the side of them and then try and eat them from the top, and then the thing would just kind of go in. But then sometimes they would go in with it, and they would just eat it from the inside out.
Whoa.
And it was but it was weird. It was like this thing that didn't even look like an animal. It was halfway between coral and an animal that could actually just crawl along the It's just something eating something else, and it's just
It's so interesting how many different species have almost had their day. Their day at the top. Like, when you compare the human species, like time of being the apex of everything.
Oh, it's like nothing,
like,
really. Nothing,
it's such like
and
a little blip in history. Some of these would be like
millions of years that they would be the...
Hundreds of millions of years. Hundreds of millions of years.
Man, it's so crazy.
But it makes you curious to think if there's ever going to be like some random animal that evolves that's just going to like be the next apex predator. And it could be AI from stuff we've been speaking about in the past, but like it would be interesting to know what that next thing will be.
I almost think it would be like impossible to not think that that's the case.
It's just I
history
don't know.
repeating.
I just don't see how it almost like couldn't be the case. I just think obviously it seems really weird to us now because we know what's alive on the planet now and everything like that. But as I said, really, it's just like a very small, it's like a blink of an eye, isn't it, in the history of the planet? So.
And then for what, I mean, a lot of these animals you'd imagine wouldn't think in the same way that we think, but like that squid wouldn't have thought, oh, one day there's going to be something that can come and wipe me out, you know?
No. Obviously, as I said, this was like ridiculously like long before even the dinosaurs evolved. So, it couldn't, I mean, let's face it probably didn't even comprehend or conceive anything. It probably just was basically just like an eating machine, like almost like an eating factory. Do you know what I mean? I always think that it's almost like you think of it like a cow, isn't it? They're such almost like dumb animals. No offense to cows, for any cows out there that are listening. But it's just they're just almost like grass processing plants. That's all they are. It's just they just don't really have much of an IQ. It's just like chomp, chomp, chomp all day. If something gets too close to the calf, like charge it, get back to eating grass. That's like literally like the life of a cow, isn't it? And I'm sure like animals like this were like even like would have been for sure like even dumber than a cow. So it's like. I think it was trilobites that they were trying
trilobites,
to trilobites, yeah. Interesting. But yeah, so covering all sorts of interesting animals that could kill you. Yeah.
We've said that before about a squid as well, like how with that beak and those tentacles and how like
horrible way to go.
How different they are from mammals, they're just like
the most aggressive squid to us are the Humboldt squid. There's been like numerous cases of them attacking humans, but I say, for sure. I mean, there's just got to be, like, I just don't really see why there wouldn't be. There's got to have been times where, like, giant squid and stuff have, like, killed humans, but we just don't know about it. Considering that people only even, like, found out about giant squids, like, officially, what was it, like, 30 years ago or something? They're, like, quite, like, a relatively, like, new species that were, like, discovered. And before then, like, people thought that they were, like, a myth. I mean, there's just got to be, like, I mean, obviously, they primarily live in the deep. But I just think, if it was I think they're nocturnal animals as well. If you were like just for some reason swimming in the sea, because there's lots of obviously people that have disappeared at sea over the years.
Some of those have got to be from.
There's got to be at least one. You know what I mean? In the history of mankind. And I tell you what, I would not want to be that guy. Just imagine how that'd be like something from a horror movie, man. Just like sheerly brutal, man.
You'd think even more with like I know a lot of sort of fables come from just imagination, but with the idea of the Kraken. And so many different sailors and people that would have been traversing the water, like all believing this same beast was out there. At some point, that's got to be based off something. It would make sense that it would be based off like a giant squid that was like dragging people into the water.
Imagine if there was like a giant squid, like the tiger got a taste for human flesh. That was like, squid they were like, right, we're actually going to attack these ships because
makes me feel less bad about eating calamari. But anyway, we're going to have to take a break, guys, but we'll be back in a minute.
You will open Pandora's box many times in your life. No, we probably really shouldn't open that box. Look, I've got one rule. Here.
Open your mind. Open your mind.
Welcome back to the sanctum. Our inner sanctum, ladies and gentlemen. Let's bring you some facts, everybody. Let's get some crazy facts out there.
Some quick ones?
They're not. Do you know what? They're not that quick. That's otherwise I would say quick fire facts. They're like sort of medium
average
facts.
Fire
some facts.
I mean, if it takes you like three, fire facts. Man. If it takes like 3 minutes to describe it, is it quick? I mean, I know time's relative, but that's. So this is quite an interesting story about a girl called Julianne Kopek or Kopek.
Kwepke.
Strange name. Anyway, she was a 17-year-old girl. Who was sucked out of an aeroplane after it was struck by a bolt of lightning. She fell 2 miles to the ground, strapped to her seat, and somehow survived hitting the ground. She then survived for 10 days in the Amazon jungle on her own in 1971. Kopek and her mother were on Lancer Flight 508 when the plane was struck by lightning mid-flight and disintegrated. Kopek was strapped to her seat when she fell 2 miles from the sky. It is speculated that winds during the thunderstorm and the foliage in the jungle helped lessen the impact and the seat that she was strapped to. Kapek had broken her collarbone and a wound on her right arm. She then survived on her own for 10 days in the jungle and had to endure maggots infesting her arm and severe bug bites. She followed a river and found a boat hut where she found other people. She ate candy found in the wreckage of the airplane for food. Sadly, her mother did not survive. 14 others initially survived the crash but did not survive while waiting for emergency services. Kapek was rescued from the jungle and went on to study mammalogy. She is still alive today at the age of 69 years old.
That's insane.
Shout out to Julianne. You are a friend of the pod.
A friend of the pod.
Imagine that, like, you're talking about, like, crazy stories. You'd be like, mate, I got you, will be. I mean, even just the bit where you, like, fell 2 miles from an aeroplane,
out of a plane,
strapped to your freaking seat, and then just, like, hit it, and you just, like, all right. I mean, I know she broke her collarbone and, like, injured her arm, but, like, that's still relatively all right.
That's, like, ridiculous. Like, that's 14 people survived that as well.
Yeah.
That's mental. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there's a you know, if you look her up online as well, there's a picture of her that was taken when she was like found, and it's quite interesting as well because she doesn't even look that banged up. She's like, I mean, where obviously she was just planning to be on a flight, she's like wearing like this dress, and yeah, she doesn't even look that banged up. I guess one thing I would say though, which is again actually is really lucky, it said obviously that she followed the river and apparently she like walked through the river for quite a while. Man. It's probably a good thing that she didn't know much about like that river because I mean there's like, you know, crocodiles, anacondas, loads of horrible things like parasites and stuff in that water. So she was like very lucky really that nothing got her there because there are like lots of incidents of like pythons and anacondas. Pythons don't live in the Amazon, but I'm just talking about big constrictors, snakes, like killing people, you know, and like trying to eat them. And I can't imagine like she looks like quite like a petite small lady. So
that's one of the craziest places you could land. Like, imagine your plane gets hit by lightning, and the whole time you're falling, you're thinking, "Uh-oh, this is it." You hit the ground, and you go, "Oh, I've survived. I'm alive." And then you've got to deal with the fact that you're in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. That's like ridiculous.
Imagine it's like nighttime, and all you can hear are just like mental animals and just like insects, and then like the distant roar of like a jaguar, and just like
what are the chances of you like being dropped there of all places on Earth? You know. Crazy.
That's a good like idea to follow the river as well.
Yeah. Makes sense that you probably eventually come to some sort of human settlement because people need water, whether it's to drink or to like wash or. And whatever.
Even I thought it was really interesting that fact you shared on the Instagram the other day about Australia being
everyone just lives on the coast.
Like it is. It's like you kind of congregate around the water, don't you?
Especially in somewhere like Australia, it's like so deadly inland. You know, it's like there's like massive deserts in the middle of Australia, and they've just got like big freeways, and they're considered like so like deadly. You know, like big long like straight freeways, and I think every now and again they've just got like you know, like telephones and like big like jugs of water. I think even things like that, because it's like if your car breaks down there and you can't, and say you have no signal or your phone's died or something, like you
need a point.
I think I can't remember how long they say that you can die. Might look it up in a minute. But like you can die like super quickly. I think it's like as quickly as like 48 hours because it's ridiculously hot. It's like mind-bendingly hot. There's hardly any water, and you're either going to die of like heat exhaustion or like sunstroke or something. And there's not really much shade either, so you're like exposed.
Did you hear about the lady in the 70s that travelled across the whole of Australia, like through the middle of the desert with like 3 camels and a dog?
No, I don't think so.
That was pretty mental. I watched a film about it the other day. It's a really interesting film.
True story?
Yeah, it's a true story. And
that's mad.
And this woman, she learns from some camel herders because there's loads of camels over in Australia, even though they're not native of Australia, because they escaped like like kind of the people that own them and stuff, and they just thrived in the wilderness of Australia. So there's just loads of camels like they're over there now and stuff. And she learned how to like work with the camels and just had 3 of them to take all of her stuff and to carry all of the water and all of that kind of thing, and just trekked all the way across Australia and to the other side to the sea on the other side, like and it was mental. And it's just her story and everything. But one of the guys that was a photographer for like National Geographic or something would meet her like every like couple of weeks while she was on the trip, and like take photos, like, you know, do the and everything. But he was like, I'm gonna go along the trail and I'm gonna leave you water like at these specific points because I don't think you're gonna make it. And And there was a couple really sticky points where like she almost like ran out of water and stuff, and it was only because he'd left these barrels at these specific points that she kind of survived and stuff. And it was
super deadly place, Australia, like in terms of like the wild, you know, like lovely place if you're sort of like living in one of these sort of like civilized bits on the coast. But such a deadly place. I mean, between like the spiders and the snakes, and then obviously you've got salty crocodiles and stuff like that. I was listening to one of the latest Joe Rogan podcasts the other day with Adam Greentree, who's like this Australian hunter, and he was saying, talking about this time when he was hunting in Australia, and then he was like going down to get water from like some like little lake or something, and then he just noticed at the last minute that what he assumed as he was walking up to the lake was like a log was this giant salty that was just waiting for him there, and he was like 100% if he had went and got like the water and just not realised, it would just like got him and it would just killed him, just dragged him in and killed him. And there's like nothing you can do really to like a saltwater crocodile once it's got you with the jaws. It's like largest crocodile species on the planet, even bigger than Nile crocodiles, which we were talking about earlier on. Like Gustav was a Nile crocodile, but they were like salties, even bigger than that. And the interesting thing about salties, it's almost like, in a way, it's almost like dangerous to name them salties, because I think a lot of people might think that means that they only live in salt water, but it basically just means that they're all water. They're like almost like all water crocodiles would be a better name for them, because they will just live wherever they want. They can thrive in the sea or like fresh water. They're really not bothered, but you can find them inland.
There's some that have like the I don't know which way around it is, but whether it's in the they give like birth, or they have the babies like in the young in the sea, and then they go into the river for them to just like grow, and then they go back out to the sea again.
What, crocs?
Yeah, or some there's I was like reading about that, and like there's I can't remember where it is, but
that would make sense.
So it was like wherever it was safest, whether I think it was the river, they would like,
I know that some
the young would come in and and they would like live in the river for a bit, and then they would like travel out.
I know that bull sharks do that. Bull sharks are like one of the only, I think the only actually, like shark species that can survive in fresh water, and in like places in America and stuff like that. They will like swim up the rivers, because there's less big predators in the rivers than there are in the sea. Give birth there, and then once the bull sharks I think are like 3 or 4 foot long, then they'll swim out of the rivers to the sea. I didn't know that about saltwater crocodiles.
Unless I'm thinking about bull sharks.
You might be.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I haven't heard that about crocodiles, but I mean, who knows? Yeah, interesting regardless. Did you know that there's hardly any Egyptian mummies around today, because
all been pillaged.
People used to eat them.
Whoa. Yeah.
It was one of those weird things.
That is wrong.
It's a bit like people eating like rhino horns and that, like, because they think it's going to give them massive erections. Tried
it, doesn't work.
Yeah, sure you can testify. But yeah, like people used to think that it would like make you super healthy to eat like ground up mummy body. Nah. But if you think about it, that's so rank. I mean, you're literally like grounding up the body of a human that lived like thousands of years ago and then just ingesting them. Like, how gross is that?
What period of people were eating these?
I think it was even up to like the sort of the Victorian period, but apparently it started in like the Middle Ages.
Right.
But as a result, there are people that made like whole entire careers out of like finding Egyptian tombs and stuff, and almost just like selling like mummies. Like they made fortunes in them, and as a result, there's actually like there would be way more mummies like in museums and stuff today, but there's just like so many of them have just been eaten.
I remember seeing pictures of like Victorian times and like at a market with like mummies for sale at the market and stuff, and people would like put them in their house.
He would just like snap off a finger and churn on. Imagine that, just like
sucking on an old femur.
I don't know what you were gonna say then.
Yeah,
sucking on a little todger. Just like, that's a bit of a weird kink, isn't it? Bit of a weird kink. But man, yeah, people do some weird stuff, don't they? Like imagine like, what do you want in your tea, love? Oh, could you give me a teaspoon of ground up mummy? Yeah. Oh, yeah, all right. Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Even like fins, like you hear about like shark fins like being a delicacy in China and stuff.
And they'll kill sharks and almost like throw away the shark. Yeah. But just keep the fin.
Yeah, not even kill it, just chop the fin off and chuck it back in, still alive.
Yeah. Well, they're going to die quick.
Yeah, I know. It's just like savage way to just like die, isn't it?
Oh, man, yeah, brutal, yeah. Yeah, so it was just like almost just like so wasteful as well. Like I almost wouldn't like mind so much if they were like utilising the whole animal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it seems like so wasteful.
Just chuck it back.
Yeah. Did you hear about that dog, Bobby, recently?
Bobby?
Did you hear about Bobby? You know that you two both like your dogs. The world's oldest dog ever.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby passed away recently at the age of 31.
Yeah.
Whoa.
31.
And you saw a picture of it before it died, and it looked just pretty.
Man,
pretty,
it was like really good shape, dude.
Yeah.
Really good shape. Yeah, Bobby, the oldest dog in recorded history, sadly died at the age of 31 years old. This was last month. 31 years and 165 days to be precise. He passed away in his home in the Portuguese village of Conqueiros, where he lived his entire life with the Costa family. Bobby's death was announced by Dr. Karen Becker, a veterinarian who met Bobby several times. She wrote on Facebook, "Last night, the sweet boy earned his wings. Despite outliving every other dog in recorded history, his 11,478 days on Earth would never be enough for those who loved him." Yes, that's crazy, isn't it? Be interesting to see what that is in like human years. I'm just going to quickly look at that. Like 31 dog years in human years. That'll be like ridiculously old. 31 dog years in human years. So let's have a look. So in human, just give me a straight up answer. How old is my dog? Right, I'm very disappointed in.
Is the dog not 31 human years old?
Yeah, obviously.
Right.
So I'm trying to see how old it was in human years.
Like how the equivalent in dog.
Have you not ever heard of that before?
Yeah. So you mean how many? Right. Yeah. So how many?
So they'll say obviously like a dog So for example, like if you've got like a 13-year-old cat, it means it's like 70 or whatever in like human years. That's like rough. I'm not saying it's exact. Do you know what I mean? And it would be like around that for a dog.
What is it, like 5 to 7 years or something in a dog? Is 1 year to a dog? I thought around, I can't remember.
Let's have a look.
7 rings a bell for some reason to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, so I haven't got like a straight answer. Oh, a 1-year-old dog is like a 31-year-old human. A 3-year-old dog is like a 49-year-old human. A 7-year-old dog is like a 62-year-old human. Yeah, so that's crazy. So apparently it's not like
linear.
Yeah. So that's interesting. But yeah, regardless, it would have been like ridiculously freaking old. It was a ridiculously old. It probably was like over 200 years old in human years. Which, if you think about it, it's like if you think about it like that, that's like actually a miracle, isn't it?
That is crazy.
Yeah, I know some people like like the oldest human on record and stuff, but I wonder what the oldest one actually is. Like, because I can imagine some like Buddhist monks up in
there are stories of Buddhist monks, haven't they, that supposedly have lived like over 130. And so
yeah, but we don't necessarily know them, or they're like
I don't think there's like an official account. There's like a lot of speculation that there might be like old Buddhist monks and stuff that have lived like over 130s, but I'll look up what the oldest official oldest person ever.
Do you reckon dogs are able to understand the concept of time in a similar way to we are? Like, do you reckon when they're old, they're almost like confused at the fact that we're not old, like that we're still? Do you know what I mean?
It's funny you said that, because I saw a really funny meme the other day, and it was like saying like, in like Lord of the Rings, how like to like humans and like hobbits and dwarves and stuff, like the elves.
I've seen the same thing.
Like Is that why you said it?
Yeah.
And it was basically saying like, and it's almost like you would grow old, you would like literally like be born, and then like the elf would look like how they do, and then you would literally grow old and die, and then to you that elf would still look the same. And it was saying like to dogs and cats, we must be like elves.
Do you reckon that is the case?
Well,
I like to think it would be.
Say, like, let's face it, it's not even uncommon for poor cats and dogs sometimes to not even live above 10 years old. And really, say you get like a dog or a cat when you're 25, and then they pass away when you're 35.
You don't look that different.
To that cat or that dog, you're not probably going to look that much different. You might have changed your hair a little bit, but like considering to that thing that went from being like a puppy or a kitten all the way through their prime to this like poor little bag of bones and dying, and then like they must be like, it's crazy that this like immortal being is just like loved me my entire life, and now I'm passing away. And now because obviously time is relative as well, to that like cat or dog, its life seems just as long as our life is to us. So it must seem like mental in a way. It makes you wonder what goes on in their little heads. Apparently the oldest confirmed age of a person was 122 years and 164 days.
Good going.
It was a French woman called Jean Calment. Or it might be like Calmer or something if it's French. Also a Japanese person called Kane Tanaka, who lived to 119. An American woman called Sarah Knaus lived to 119 also. Yeah, actually, there's older than I realised. I didn't think it was the oldest one would be that old. That's ridiculously old, isn't it? 122 years old. Yeah, there's actually like, I say a lot, obviously relative to like all the people in the world, it's not very many, but there's like quite a long list here of 100. It's like basically it's like the 100 oldest people that ever lived, and even like the 100th person was 114 years and 195 days. Interesting that a lot of them either seem to be from like Japan or the United States.
I think the oldest woman in the world currently just got an Adidas deal. That sounds like a funny thing to say, but I'm pretty sure she just got her own Adidas shoes. I was watching a video recently. Yeah, about time. Yeah, I was watching a video and it was like this old woman. I'm pretty sure I assume she was over 100. I knew that much.
Yeah.
And she was like revealing her new shoes and being like, "Oh yeah, this is my Adidas brand deal," and stuff like that. I thought that was quite funny.
Wow, that's crazy, isn't it? Well, fair play, you know. I mean,
and she, to be fair, she looked healthy.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Definitely.
That's cool, man. On to another not so quick fire fact now. There was a lady called Nellie Bly who wrote to a newspaper in response to a sexist article. The editor was so impressed, he asked her for more, which led to a full-time job. As an investigative journalist, she covered social justice issues such as labour and divorce laws and went undercover. At 25, after reading Jules Verne's Around the World in 80 Days, she decided to travel around the world herself. Her trip only took her 72 days, which set a new world record. So that's a pretty impressive lady, isn't it?
That's cool.
So, yeah, fair shout to you, Nellie Bly. You are another friend of the pod.
Mm-hmm.
This next one, if this is true, then this is insane, because I can't even really, like, comprehend this. I mean, I assume it's true. I don't know why someone would just, like, make this up, unless he, like, somehow, like, forged it or something. But apparently the world record for the most non-stop push-ups ever was set by a man called Minoru Yoshida in 1980. How many push-ups do you reckon he managed to do in one go without stopping?
12,000.
I was going to say 10,000.
Yeah, it was just over 10,000. I'm like ridiculously surprised at that, to be honest. I mean, I think, you know, he was allowed to like take like a break at the top or the bottom, but wasn't allowed to like put his knees down or anything like that. I think that's freaking insane.
10,000.
Like I just can't even like comprehend that, man. I can't even comprehend just like
I can't comprehend how your body would let you do that. Like how your muscles wouldn't be just shredded. Like
he did 10,507. Yeah, I just think like that's the thing I can't comprehend. Like I would just think that like after a certain amount, your body would no longer be able to respond to your commands, because obviously that's what happens essentially when you reach like muscular failure. You just can physically no longer continue the exercise. So the fact that he managed to carry on, I wonder like what his method was. I'm gonna look into this like more. Like I wonder if he had like really fast digesting like carbs, like sweets and stuff, that when he went down he would like be like eating them to try and like keep himself like full of energy or something.
I'd love to know what his like build is. You know what I mean? Like to see a photo of him.
He looked like sort of like athletic, but like, not like bodybuilder jacked, but like really jacked.
Yeah, like me.
Awkward.
Do you know, like imagine like how long it took to do the 10,000 as well. Whether it would have been long enough for your body to actually go into some kind of recovery, so it was almost recovering as it was doing it as well. Do you know what I mean? As in like with the breakdown of the muscle, like the process of that actually repairing the muscle as well, or whether it would just be completely all like, deflating
I think that it would be impossible for your body to start recovering at the same time while you were still putting it under such stress, because all you would be doing is giving it more and more and more stress. You know, you recover when you rest. You can't recover while you're training. You know, you'd have to start recovering after you finish training. So like, I know what you're saying, like if you took like a break, but then I just think the moment you started again, you would almost like start doing all that damage. And also, if you rested too long, you would be losing strength just from almost like being in a plank position. You know, just the static strength to keep your body there and stuff. So I think that the best way to probably go about it would be to try and do as many as you could as quickly as you could. You know,
I wonder what the longest plank is.
Oh, it'll be ridiculous. I know that my Uncle Dom won the plank challenge in Trimwise Gym, and he like over doubled the time of the person before him. I can't remember what he did, but
2 days.
It was something. It was like something freaking ridiculous. And he told me that he could have gone longer, but once he realised he'd done like twice as much as the person that was first before he tried, he was just like, yeah, I've got this in the bag, so there's no point in doing it anymore. I can't remember exactly what his time was. It was something like 18 minutes, and the person before him did like 8 minutes and 30. You know, something. I can't remember exactly. That might not be exactly right, but I know that he got like over twice as long as the person that came second. But he's just like great at anything like that, like body weight exercises. He's like fantastic at anything like that. It's like I told you yesterday, didn't I, boy? Because you said you got into running, and you were saying you're just trying to get to your 5K to like under 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And I told you that he can, at the age of like 53, he can do a 5K in 18 minutes.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's like
so crazy.
It's like 7 minutes faster than you're hoping to do, and you're 20.
Yeah, that is mental.
Yeah, he is a machine, dude. He's a machine. He's a special specimen. His old Dom, the Domatron. Shout out Uncle Dom. Yeah, that's crazy about those push-ups, man. I just can't even comprehend that. This is quite a cool fact. I love it when you just like look into history, especially sort of like that like post-dinosaur period where you had like the rise of the megafauna, like the big mammals. Because often if you look back into history into that period, you'll find essentially just giant versions of things that live today, which is just cool.
Oh man,
it's just really cool. There was an animal called a Procoptodon, which is an extinct genus of short-faced kangaroo. That used to live and thrive in Australia, and it was essentially just a freaking giant kangaroo.
They're pretty big anyway. Some of the males, aren't they now?
Like red kangaroos, yeah, they like they can like F you up, and they've got like big claws, haven't they? Like on their toes, and they can like they literally will like grab kick. You, and they like slice open your innards. They can like giraffes can like giraffes, kangaroos. I mean, giraffes can kill you, but like, kangaroos can definitely kill you.
Did you see that giraffe like
trying to drown that guy's dog?
No, I saw a giraffe try and get on a motorbike.
I like how like different those two stories are. What? Try and drown that dog? No, get on a motorbike.
Yeah,
either one's good story.
It was so weird. I don't know if it was trying to like actual like mate with the motorbike.
He always just wanted to be a biker.
And it's real funny. It's this meme where this giraffe's trying to get on the motorbike, and then all of a sudden it cuts to like Grand Theft Auto, and it must be a cheat that you can do where there's a giraffe riding a motorbike.
You mean a kangaroo?
Yeah, kangaroo. Yeah.
And then we were just like,
that's what was confusing me. I was thinking that's even more mental.
Yeah, like that. Imagine that. Like, mate, I think you're a bit too big for that bike, mate. All right, I think you've outgrown. I don't know why we just think kangaroos are giraffes.
I was picturing a giraffe with like a leather biker jacket on.
No, it was a giraffe. It was a giraffe. It was a giraffe. Yeah, but I accidentally said kangaroo. Yeah, it was a giraffe that tried to get on a motorbike.
Surely it would have been way too big.
And then but then it cuts to this. It cuts to the Grand Theft Auto scene because there must be a cheat that you can mod. Yeah, where there's a giraffe on a motorbike like caning it through the town, like
It's mad how many like weird mods there are of GTA. I've seen one where you can like be like the Hulk or like be like Goku in it and just like.
There's like infinite, man. Have you seen they've just announced in December they're announcing GTA 6?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. People are going to lose their minds.
Best mod ever was where you could just get everyone in Witcher to be naked.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, man.
Obviously, Drew knows
I used to love that one.
Did you do it?
Like, yeah.
Did you have that one?
Yeah, hell yeah.
What?
And it'd be like, and I think it was like every chick would just be naked.
That is hilarious, man. That's such a Drew mod. I remember once, it was like about like 10:30 at night. And I got like a little notification on my Xbox.
I love it that you would get notifications when I would like save something and that, wouldn't it? Or like
no, you sent it to me.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you sent it to me. Yeah,
that's cool.
I just got like a little notification. And it was like a message on Xbox because I pretty much like I use my Xbox almost like pretty much for everything at home. Like I use it to watch like. I just find it easy for like
I do as well. Media box.
Yeah, like Amazon, Disney, Netflix, YouTube, like whatever I'm watching really. I do it through my Xbox, so it's on like almost like daily. And I just suddenly got this notification like late at night, and I was like, "What's this?" And it was like a little message from Drew, and it was like a little video file. And then I clicked on it, and it was just like a sex scene in The Witcher that Drew was obviously just playing out and had like recorded. And it was like Geralt of Rivia, who's like the protagonist, and he was like naked apart from like a little fox mask, and he was like banging a chick in a lighthouse. And I remember I just wet myself. And I remember like a couple of days after that, I remember like Josh was over and I was like, yeah man, watch this, that Drew sent me the other day. And I gave him no context and then he was like wetting himself as well.
Yeah, that's the only thing I have saved on my Xbox of a game.
Of all the things, you just got one sex scene just like saved of you playing as Gary out just having sex with a chick in a fox mask in a lighthouse. Yeah, to be fair, man, that was really hilarious. Oh, damn, explicit. 25 minutes into the second one. Yeah, but that's cool, isn't it, about those giant kangaroos anyway. So yeah, they lived during the Pleistocene epoch. The biggest one was called P. Goliath. I assume it achieved a height of over 2 meters. That's 6.6 feet tall. So and apparently would have been as heavy as 240 kilos. Whoa! So think that's like that stood up and then like twice my body weight. or maybe even a bit more than that.
And they're muscly
that's like
as
3.5 me's.
Their chest muscles, like that you see on kangaroos,
and their biceps.
Yeah, they just look hench.
They got really big like biceps and forearms and that as well, haven't they?
That's so cool that they've been in Australia for that long as well.
Oh yeah, that's where
like just dominating.
They are the OGs of Australia kangaroos, aren't they, man? That is their place.
Kangaroo, mate.
Like, this is another cool fact. I think we all know that if you take in like helium, did you know that you can achieve the opposite of that and take in something that makes you sound like a demon, like full on a demon?
I've seen this.
Yeah, so it's like if you inhale it, because basically the way that helium works is that it's a thinner gas than the air we breathe, and that because it's thinner, it has the effect on our vocal cords of making it higher. But if you take in a non-toxic gas which is thicker or denser than the air we breathe, it makes your voice go, "Oh, I am like, I'm gonna kill you."
I want to get some. We should order some.
So what you want to order, if you can, I don't even know if you can order this, but apparently it's safe, so I wouldn't know why you wouldn't be able to do it. It's called sulfur hexafluoride, and if you take in sulfur hexafluoride, you'll like sound like some mental like monster or demon from like a horror movie.
I'll look into it.
It'd be quite a cool like prank to do on like your family or your missus.
Yeah, definitely.
Just like order some and then just like I don't know, maybe like act a bit weird for like an hour or something leading up to it. You know, a bit creepy, just like
just a little bit off.
Just stare at them and don't say anything for ages. Just go like really close to them and then just be like.
And every now and then, yeah. But like build it up good, like build it up for a while and like maybe like just like stare at them and then when they like look at you,
at me like that?
Just say something really strange like the cabinet is larger today. You know, just something that's like so obscure but like really weird, and then go into the other room for a little bit and then wait until they ask you what you're doing. And then be like, what? So you ingested the hexafluoride. And just go like full crazy on them. That would be great. That'd be a great prank. I have to say, I mean, it would confuse the hell out of me if someone did that to me. I'm like, what's going on, man? Like, what
especially if they were looking at you like they knew what. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, not that it was like weird,
a little bit off.
like you've just been possessed or something. You know?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And then act like you don't even know what happened afterwards as well.
And then just like snap out of it and be like.
What?
Did you just like? Where was I? I don't even know where. You know, just got all confused.
Full on, just like gaslight partner into thinking they're just going fully insane.
That you were just possessed by a demon. That'd be scary.
That's pretty savage, isn't it? That's pretty savage.
I saw recently, nitrous oxide has been made like illegal. So people can actually like go to jail for it.
Isn't that what people go get high on?
Yeah, that's balloons. And recently there was someone who went to like a festival or a concert or something. Yeah. And like as a joke, because now it's been made like illegal, he was going around like because I guess in the past loads of people would have been given it. He was going around with helium balloons and going, "You want one?" And people would like pay for it or whatever. And then they'd like inhale it and then be like, "Well, this is so good, dude." And it would just be like a really high voice. I thought that was a really funny prank.
Yeah, that is pretty funny, isn't it? I thought this was a really, really cool fact, especially as somebody that loves dinosaurs. Did you know that the probability of you drinking a glass of water that contains a molecule that once passed through a dinosaur is almost 100%?
That's so cool.
That's so amazing. Obviously, I guess like water's just basically recycled by nature and over again, isn't it? You know, it gets like evaporated into the clouds, it rains, it gets drunk, happens again, you know, it gets like weed out, reabsorbs, you know, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so how cool is that? How cool is that?
Imagine how many layers of wee is in each and every glass of water you have.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Dinosaur wee. Just drinking dinosaur wee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's around 121,000 cubic miles of water, which is the equivalent to 42 superior lakes, is received on Earth every year. This much water flows through the sea, lakes and rivers, as well as is kept under the ground or taken in by people and animals. Steve Maxwell and Scott Yates wrote in their book, The Future of Water, A Startling Look Ahead, that we consume the same water that dinosaurs drank in the past. Interesting, isn't it?
Mm.
Fossil fuels get burnt and are gone forever, but water remains. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was quite a cool little story, making me feel sorry for the guy. There was a guy called that people used to call the Green Man or Charlie No Face. He would wander the streets of Pennsylvania at night. Must have almost been a bit like creepy to the people of the time, especially if they bumped into him. But he would wander at night basically because he was so unfortunately grotesque that he knew that he would like terrify people if they saw his face. So he used to walk around at night. But this almost gave him like an urban legend type status. And sometimes people would see them out of their window or something, him like walking the streets late at night. His name was his real name was Raymond Theodore Robinson. He was born in 1910 and lived to 1985. He was a disfigured American man whose years of nighttime walks made him into a figure of urban legend in western Pennsylvania. Robinson was so severely injured in a childhood electrical accident that he could not go out in public without fear of causing a panic. So instead, he would go for long walks at night. As a boy, he climbed an electric pole to see into a bird's nest and was electrocuted. As he fell to the ground, he lost his eyes, his nose, his mouth, one ear, and one arm. The story states that when he grew older, he hid in an abandoned house. The famed nickname of the Green Man came from his skin, which was purported to be green because of the electrical shock he suffered in the stories. Through several generations, Robinson's story has been passed on so many times that his name and his real history have been overshadowed by the ghost story that grew out of them. So yeah, I feel real sorry for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Savage. How would you even surviving on your own with no eyes and just brutally disfigured?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you would just learn to, I guess. But I mean, he might have had carers, I don't know. But it just said that he did walk the streets on his own late at night and became an urban legend. But poor guy. This is another awesome giant ancestor of an animal that lives today. Obviously, baboons are quite aggressive. Primates. They've got big fangs. Obviously they're not great apes, so they're not as intelligent as chimps or orangutans or gorillas or humans. But still almost quite humanoid. And,
you wouldn't want to mess with one,
no,
would you?
You certainly wouldn't, especially because of the area they live. They're regularly sort of tangling with hyenas and lions and other things like that. So a human to them is probably not going to seem too deadly. At least not a human with a weapon anyway. A human without a weapon. But yeah, there was an ancient type of baboon, which was basically a super baboon, and it was called Dinopithecus, or commonly referred to as its nickname, the Terrible Ape. As an extinct primate of significant size, which basically looked like a giant, jacked-up baboon. This creature inhabited South Africa and Ethiopia during the Pliocene to Pleistocene epochs. The primate consumed a comparatively minimal amount of grass and other foods linked to savanna environments, setting it apart from other primate species in South Africa. Analysing microwear patterns on its molar teeth, which resembled those found in modern yellow baboons, hinted at a varied and wide-ranging diet with a high fruit intake and relatively limited consumption of other things like leaves. In addition to its known dietary choices, there is a possibility that Dinopithecus diversified its nutrition by engaging in hunting activities. This could include capturing invertebrates, fish, lizards, birds, and even other small mammals. But yeah, it's quite good. They're pretty massive, man. Pretty terrifying looking creatures. Dinopithecus, look it up. Dinopithecus, I said. Basically a picture of a baboon, but just at least twice the size. Oh. Probably pretty damn scary to deal with, I imagine. Yeah, I thought this fact was pretty funny. There was a guy that was on the run from the police just last year in 2022 in Devon, so really close to us. And he was caught because he tried to escape across a field, and a bunch of cows chased him, and as a result, then there was a helicopter with infrared heat. What do they call it?
Thermal vision.
Thermal vision, yeah, flying overhead. And because there were so many cows chasing him, it just showed up really, really well, and then he managed to catch him. But I thought that was hilarious. Imagine that, you're just right, I'm just going to escape across this field, and then it's just all these cows just get really angry with you and just attack you.
Giving him away.
Yeah. I thought this was a really, really fascinating fact. This is super, super ancient fact. Obviously, I think we've talked about mushrooms and fungi and stuff quite a lot on the pod before. There was a being, should we call it a being, called a prototaxites. It was a genus of terrestrial fungi that lived from the Middle Ordovician until the late Devonian period, which was between 470 to 360 million years ago. So, way before the dinosaurs. It's prototaxites formed small to large trunk-like structures up to 3 feet wide and reaching 26 feet in height. It was made up of interwoven tubes around 50 millimeters in diameter, making it by far the largest land-dwelling organism of its time. It was the largest land-living thing on its time. Whoa. Isn't that amazing? So there was cool. This was before any sort of thing that was walking on legs on land or anything.
Did it just look like a giant mushroom then?
Yeah, it was like this giant fungi tree almost.
Whoa.
That's
Called
crazy.
a prototaxite. It said invertebrates were the only other land-dwelling multicellular life, so there would have been like insects essentially. But prototaxites became extinct as vascular plants rose to prominence. The organism could have used its tall column structure for spore dispersal. So yeah, it was like the ancestor of lots of modern fungi, and it would have been this like giant 26-foot tall, almost like fungi tree that would have shot its spores up into the atmosphere, and it would have like rained down.
It is
on it.
mad, man. Just
tree
the
of life.
story of Earth is like just like magical in itself. Like you know,
Oh yeah, for sure.
it is like fantasy almost. Just seeing these different animals and even looking at an insect up close. You know what I mean? It is. It's like monsters and.
That's why I've always been like, ever since I was a little kid, literally one of my first ever interests was just almost like on a very sort of like basic level, I guess at first it was just like dinosaurs, but then out of that, basically just like anything that's ever lived, which is just almost like insane or like amazing, I just love it. I just like freaking love it. Like I just can't get enough of it. Like to this day, I just think like, I'm just like, whoa, it's like more mind-boggling than almost like the craziest movie you could watch, and then the fact that it's like real, and it happened,
and like the extreme diversity of every single like
Yeah.
living organism is insane. I can't believe that I still see things now that I've never seen before, and I'm like, what? That is actually a thing. Like you know,
yeah, like you say, even like just like animals today. I mean, obviously we've talked about before about some of the most like fascinating animals that are still alive today, whether it's like killer whales or all sorts of things, man. Just absolutely fascinating.
even some of the plants that live in the ocean that like like you almost like you get them in the Amazon and stuff as well that catch things and like eat them.
Venus
and stuff,
flytraps and things
yeah,
like that. Yeah,
like you get them in
carnivorous
the ocean.
plants.
Yeah,
Carnivorous
and they just
plants,
look mental. They just have so many different colours and stuff.
There's
and
that.
like,
There's that giant one that I think's in the Amazon, and apparently it stinks like rotting flesh.
oh,
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I think it might even be the largest carnivorous plant in the world, and it's like freaking big, man.
yeah.
And it just like consumes like animals. It's mad, absolutely mad. But yeah, I think it's really interesting, like seeing all these different sort of Venus flytraps and other little things, and you know you see it, and they deliberately almost like excrete sap, don't they?
Yeah.
So that flies will land on them
attract
and stuff.
yeah.
I've seen like videos and stuff where like even like spiders go through it, and then like it's like basically saying, you know, that's the tactile strength of that spider is like, I can't remember how strong it would be, like if it was like our size, but it was like if it was our size, it would be able to like pick up a tank or something and throw it. And even that, like it basically got crushed by the Venus flytrap and it just couldn't get out. And then I think he came back like 24 hours later, the guy, and he like prized open the jaws, I guess you want to call it. And like there were a couple of legs like sticking out of the Venus flytrap, but everything that was inside it was just like
devoured.
It was just it just been like disintegrated by like the acidic juices that like the Venus flytrap. I thought, mate, that's a pretty gruesome way to go, isn't it?
So crazy. Imagine like having a salad and you're looking at the salad and you go, there's something that's closer to you than you are to me that eats other animals. But that's just a crazy thought to even like contemplate, isn't it?
One of the things I think is really interesting about mushrooms, talking about like fungi and stuff as well, is that they're like ridiculously, almost impossible to categorize. So, you know, through pretty much anything else on the planet, there are certain other like anomalies. We've talked about that thing. Do you remember, what was it called? The something monster or something. We talked about that animal that was that ancient prehistoric creature that like basically people couldn't figure out what it was. They couldn't figure out whether it's an invertebrate or a fish, and it's called the Tully monster. The Tully monster. There's other certain things like the Tully monster in like the history of the planet that have sort of fallen under this category as well. But most things you can figure out whether it's like, you know, at first you can usually tell whether it's like an invertebrate or not. Usually invertebrate basically means it's got an exoskeleton rather than like flesh on the outside and then a skeleton in the middle like we do. And then you can figure out, you know, okay, is it like a fish? Is it a mammal? Is it a reptile? Is it an amphibian? Is it a bird? Whatever. And then from there, you can almost like start narrowing it down until you get a more and more specific genus. Whereas with mushrooms, you just can't do that because they're not really plants, but they're not really like we are either. They're not really like animals or plants. They share a couple of things in common with plants, and they share a couple of things in common with animals. But they're such a unique thing that they're like completely their own genus. In a lot of ways, they are more like animals, which is crazy to think, because you think like an animal, right? You think like, oh, like a person, or like, like a dog or something, like, you know, or a bear. And to us, it almost makes sense that that's an animal because we all have like teeth and eyes and hearts and stuff. But in a lot of ways, mushrooms are like more like an animal than a plant, which is like mind-boggling in itself. You wouldn't look at a mushroom in the ground and think, you are more like me than the grass that you're next to.
Yeah.
Would you? And it almost seems a bit menacing to think that.
Am I right in saying that spores can traverse space?
Yeah, I think they are, yeah.
Like, that's like crazy to even think about. That's a bit ominous.
That mushrooms could have been from outer space, because it's like the seeding of planets and stuff.
Sci-fi, like alien sounds. I love those old sci-fi, like alien.
It's mad as well, like the intelligence of nature with like what do you call it when you were like evolving and everything. Like there was this. I was watching about this leaf, this plant that butterflies would lay the eggs on the bottom of the leaf, and then eggs would hatch. Caterpillars would eat all the leaves on the plant and everything. So it evolved this ability to like have poison in the leaf, like to stop to do that. But then went even further to actually create this like growth at this base of the leaf that looked like a butterfly egg. So that
what other butterflies
so that when the butterfly came along, it would think, oh, that one's already got to deter the butterflies from landing it. But then going a step further as well, they would secrete this sap from that growth that would attract ants. The ants would eat the sap, but then the ants would also eat caterpillars.
Wow.
So like, do you know what I mean? It's just this whole cycle of like intelligence of a plant knowing
it's basically like a game of
to
chess,
attract a certain type of animal, also to create a growth that looks like an egg of another animal. Like, do you know what I mean? Or an insect. You know, it's like
it's almost like a giant game of chess, isn't it? And I think also, and humans have like broken the code. We've like broken the game. We've essentially like used mods. I guess. But like, even if you think about the most like vicious predators on the planet, like there is no guarantee that they're going to get a kill. The most one that the closest one to us, I would say, in terms of almost like breaking the game, is probably like killer whales, because they're just so smart and they're so big and they work in packs that it's almost like, although their life is no doubt dangerous, it's like nowhere near as dangerous as a lot of other animals. But like, I say, even like a lion, right? You think of like a lion, it's one of the most ferocious predators on the planet. But you think about a lot of things that they're hunting, and I say like even like a zebra, which is nowhere near as intimidating as like a rhino. You know, like if one of them kicks them full front in the face and the lion like breaks its skull, like it might die. You know, there's a very good chance it's going to die. Or even if you're just unsuccessful with your kills long enough that you die of starvation, because every time you're unsuccessful, you get even more tired, you get even weaker, and then as time goes on, your chances are like it's almost like your chances are getting weaker and weaker and weaker every time. So it's like it's like so tightly packed between that like evolution, you know, the evolution of the defense and the evolution of the attack. You know, the defenses of things like water buffaloes, of zebras, of all these animals, and then the attacking abilities of lions or bears or crocodiles and stuff. You know,
and as soon as one side starts winning, then the other one gets a little bit of a buff.
Yeah, something else will evolve, like some other adaptation that will almost like make it even again. As I said, it's interesting that, as I said, it's like almost makes me even more impressed with like killer whales, that they're the only other thing I really feel like that are like so dominant like us. Do you know what I mean? Like the fact that they can almost just like kill great white sharks, which like, you know, even like to us are like terrifying, and like to most things in the sea would just be like terrified by a great white shark, and then they are just like, we're just gonna eat his liver.
And like the intelligence of knowing that humans can help them as well. Like there was this like baby killer whale that was going up to a boat and just making all these noises at the boat, and then the boat started following the killer whale, and the killer whale took it to a pod of
I saw this.
And it was the mother of that baby killer whale had and they went in and they cut it all, and then it was like,
oh mate, I have no doubt that like cetaceans like are aware that we can of our like
communication.
I think, you know, they see us in like boats and stuff, and they're so smart, and we know that like they're, you know, that it's very hard obviously to like map out intelligence, but we know for a fact that like some of them are around the same intelligent as us, but like I said, they're very slightly, you know, different. Their brains are different because they need to be wired differently for their environments. But we know that they're, you know, a lot of whales have like bigger brains than us, for example. You know, I'm pretty sure the largest brain of any whale, I think it's the sperm whale. But I mean, talking about like some of the crazy things that sperm whales do, it's just nuts, man. But yeah, I'm sure like all cetaceans, like there's lots of different accounts, aren't there, of like cetaceans interacting with humans in a way that's almost like, come help me, or like, yes. I mean, even like those videos you can see of like beluga whales playing like rugby. Have you seen that? There's like, I think it was like somehow there's like this boat in like the Antarctic. Or
Oh
somewhere.
yeah, and it keep bringing the ball back. Yeah.
And there's this guy, he's like this rugby player, and he's like throwing the rugby ball out to sea, and this beluga whale will like go and get the rugby ball, and then like bring it back to the guy. He's like playing like catch essentially, but with the rugby ball, and it's just like even the fact that they can just do that, it's just so cool.
Interspecies communication. It's mental that you can still like that you can actually do that with like certain animals and stuff. I think it's so cool.
There's that other one where that girl drops her phone.
Yeah, and it goes the bottom, brings it up.
It's almost just like, oh, did you drop this?
Yeah,
and it's like, whoa.
Yeah,
I can't believe almost like it's almost like hilarious.
You know that we hold value to that. Yeah. You're gonna get it for me.
It's almost like intelligent, but also like considerate.
Yeah,
which is really weird. Like you wouldn't think that like most animals would be almost like that considerate. You know, like because you wouldn't think they'd even like comprehend what it is to be considerate.
Yeah, and those really that seems like a very human trait. But then what I've like. Do certain animals have those traits that connect us more than we like believe? I mean,
I think we know that obviously like elephants, things like elephants and others, like cetaceans and stuff, they have like close family units. You know, and even like grandmothers will look after young and stuff like that. You know, which is like, I mean, even that's quite funny. We think that's almost like a very human thing, isn't it? Like you drop your kid off with your mum to look after her,
and they mourn and stuff as well, and like cry, like you know what I mean, or they like to show
grieve.
Like sadness, grieve. That's it. Yeah, like really like show that as well.
They say like an elephant never forgets, don't they? As well. So if like an elephant's like if you mistreat an elephant or something, and then if it sees you like 20 years later, it might just attack you. You know.
I saw a video recently of a guy paddleboarding in Scotland in a loch. And there was a killer whale that came up to him while he was paddleboarding.
It was supposed to be Loch Lomond, but I've heard that apparently people saying that's rubbish.
Right.
And that it wasn't actually Loch Lomond.
Either way, crazy to think that you could be paddleboarding and a killer whale would just come and like bump into your paddleboard, but it just leaves him alone.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think Loch Lomond might be. I don't know.
Landlocked.
I think it might be landlocked. Yeah.
Right.
I think I saw a comment from like a Scottish person that was like, "That can't be Loch Lomond because it's landlocked. So you don't get killer whales on Loch Lomond." But I don't know. Maybe that Scottish person was wrong. I don't know. But I think it was somewhere. It was in some sea somewhere. But even so, that would be nuts. Let's face it, it's still a real video. Like just paddleboarding, and this fucking killer whale just comes up to me. He's like, "Hello, mate." Like, whoa. I still think it would almost be a bit sketchy just because of the size of them.
Oh, 100%. You'd be terrified.
Somewhere between 20 and 30 feet long, like the average killer whale.
That's
so big. So big. It's like a submarine, man. It's like a submarine with eyes, you know, and teeth. But that's the end of the episode anyway, folks. Thanks for joining us this week. Hope you've enjoyed our shenanigans. Have a beautiful week. Thanks for joining us yet again. We appreciate all the listeners. If you, wherever you're listening to us, we'd really appreciate if you'd go on our YouTube and Spotify and give us like a little subscribe or a follow, whatever it may be. We just really appreciate your support. And thanks to everyone for listening. Have a beautiful week, and we shall see you next time.
Bye. Bye.